Washte mi kolas, that means greetings, my friends, in Lakota. This is Wakia speaking from the heart. I'm going to talk about something that everybody should know. I think that if you agree with this video right off the bat, I'm going to say this, spread it around. This is not only for the members of the Campfire Council that we have as a community, which I'll discuss later, but this is for the general public. Now, I want to talk about terrorism and the word terrorism and everything that's associated with it, because I wonder if we took account of, if we had a little, number clicker that tells you how many times something appears, click, 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 click. How many times have we heard terrorism from the media, the government? How many times do we hear it a day, would you say? I mean, those that watch the media, those that are tuned into the nightly news and the newspapers, how many times do we see the word terrorism and terror and attack by so-and-so terrorists or this terrorist organization or that terrorist organization? It's a big lie, people. I want to tell you that right now, okay? It's the biggest lie that the USA and its associate goon squad nations have ever perpetuated in the history of this country. It's the biggest lie, the biggest fabrication, the biggest false flag that just from that one false flag, a million false flags suddenly appear out of nowhere because they're anchored to that one false flag. Now, you got to listen close, because this is ultra mind control. Okay? This is mind control. I've done videos on this before, but I think it's really, we're in a crisis situation where they're really ramping up that word. It's a big lie. And I'll tell you this, none of these groups like ISIS or the stuff they make up, this is all Hollywood bullshit, okay? Excuse my French, but I'm going to speak frankly today. And if you don't like certain words, then just turn it off right now. But this is bullshit that they're feeding down our throats, permeating into our brains daily. It's like a drum beat. I'm a drummer, okay? And they used drums back in the times of war to get the people going in this fervor, okay? And everybody's buying into it. Now, you have to look at the definition of terrorist. You have to look at the definition of terrorist. Google it, do whatever you have to do. Go to Wikipedia. Boy, that surprised me today when I was reading that. I already knew what terrorism is. It's just an ideological threat, or a political, it even says in there. Political can be used by political parties, political factions, religious factions, all kinds of factions, okay, can use whatever they, terrorism to further their agenda. What does that tell you? Political factions, nationalistic. It's this drumbeat of continuous brainwashing techniques. Now, this all has one big anchor. In NLP, we call this an anchor. Neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, that means programming of the mind. Okay, or deprogramming of the mind. This is what's used, okay? Now, they anchored us into this big event, 9/11, which was total bullshit. It was a total lie. They orchestrated it for that very reason. I remember when people were riding around with flags out of their cars and they were in this nationalistic, they were in shock. They didn't know what else to do. Put little flags out, that'll save us. That's what happened when 9/11 happened if you weren't around or didn't see it. It was nuts. And so that was the big shock, the big anchor they planted in everybody's head. Oh my God, we're vulnerable to terrorism. And so they use this in a shock doctrine type way, okay? Get the people shocked out of their gourds, okay? So they're like, huh? Like a deer in the headlights, like I said before. And then push in legislation and all kinds of other stuff that they wouldn't normally, if they weren't in their right, if they were in their right minds, if they weren't shocked, they'd go, no way, we don't want that. What for? But they shocked the people with 9/11. And that was a big one, because that's where they instituted a new enemy called terrorists. Now, as I was saying before, look up that term. It's ambiguous. One man's terrorist could be another man's freedom fighter. So if one country wants to label a freedom fighter and make him look bad, they just say he's a terrorist. But it even goes farther than that, people. It goes to this government and many governments in collusion creating terrorist organizations. See, now that they got the anchor in with 9/11, ever since that time, the axis of evil and all that crap, they're going to use this to the hilt. They're going to keep perpetuating this terrorism monster, because when the Soviet Union fell, they felt like, well, we got to make up a new enemy now. One that can't go away ever, because it's ambiguous. And ambiguous means, if you don't know what ambiguous means, look it up. So what we have is a problem, reaction, solution, which fits into the shock doctrine, which is a well-known CIA technique, MK Ultra mind, psyops, psychological operations, okay, against the masses of the people. That's what this is and has been all along from day one. And you can research, they thought about doing this a long time ago in Cuba. They called it Operation Northwoods. Look it up. I'm not going to explain all this stuff to you people. The general public out there who I'm talking to. It's time for you to realize what's being done to you. It's time for you to wake up and smell the coffee. And quit acting like a bunch of scared rabbits and wimps. They got everybody scared of something that doesn't even exist. That ISIS thing, that's all. How many of them have been captured, by the way? And have they questioned ISIS? And have they found out things? You don't hear too much about that, do you? Capturing their own. Who do they capture now? Well, they don't capture anybody, because before, when they had somebody like bin Laden, they had to jump through too many hoops to show they captured or killed him or whatever. So why even have a main guy? Let's just have a army, a state, yeah. And then we'll just move those guys around to different areas, and they're really soldiers for the U.S., mercenaries, okay? I don't care what tribe or wherever they're from, they're mercenaries, paid killers. And they dress up in their little uniforms. And have you ever seen, when terrorism first started, these guys just had scarves and they looked pretty radical, and beards, and the guys they were after. And now it's like they're all dressed up in uniform and they all have the same little black masks on and the same gray sweat clothes, sweatpants, and the Nike tennis shoes and the guns in front of them. That's stage, people. If you can't see it, you're blind. Let's do a photo op here, and then we'll Photoshop into the background some village somewhere. I can do that. Trust me. I'm great with Photoshop. This is a big lie, and you need to friggin' wake up, you people out there. And then, okay, so now they're taking it another step further. Okay, they've destroyed the Bill of Rights. See, when people went into shock, they passed the Patriot Act, and they passed this act, and they passed that act, and they developed the Office of Homeland Security. You know what my first reaction to hearing the Office of Homeland Security, homeland, that word homeland, what do you think that jives with? Fatherland, Hitler, hello? Homeland, fatherland. If you don't see this stuff, people, you need to have your head examined. And ever since that time, it's been a drumbeat of terrorist activities. Now they're going to come in. See, when I said they're going to use this to the fullest extent, this is what's next. This is what's next. They are already in the process, and Fozzie, one of the members of CAMPFIRE Council here, a friend of mine, sent me, okay, some intel or info or additional, but I've seen this a lot about how Canada's freaking out and passing new laws, okay? But let's get back to the point here. They're going to use this now to label anybody they don't like, an organization or a person or anything. And it says right in the Wikipedia thing, there's some ambiguity here as to what one would call a terrorist. There is no real definition. There's no real definition of a terrorist. It's so ambiguous, okay? It's really ambiguous. Now, back in the days of Carlos the Jackal, and you know, back when there were real terrorists that went in and bombed like little Paris things. It wasn't a big, you know, false flag attack like 9/11, or it was like real. They went in and blew up a bunch of people in a cafe. That's where the concept of terrorists first came in, okay? But they took that and put it on steroids, baby. They took that and put it on steroids. Now it's like everybody's a terrorist. Everybody that they want to be a terrorist, anybody that says anything against the government or exposes the government, you're colluding with the terrorists. Hello? Now, I'll tell you who the real terrorists are, because the definition in Wikipedia says that any political, oh, there goes my phone. It's okay, I'll just let it go. It's a cricket. Well, I guess I needed some humor in here. Am I getting too wound up, people? The definition of a terrorist is ambiguous. It's ambiguous. So, like Wikipedia says and everybody else says, you can use it for any purposes that you want to use it for. I'm being attacked by sounds and light here. We need a little humor here, seriously. Maybe that was to lighten me up a little. Because people are falling for this hook, line, and sinker. I'll get wound up here again. People are falling for this hook, line, and sinker. Seriously. friends, brothers and sisters, don't buy into this. It's the biggest lie perpetuated on maybe the human race. What better way, see, this is taking me in a new direction, I like this, to divide and conquer than to call one person a terrorist and another person not. That's like, it's just a metaphor. I mean, just think about it from a relaxed, rational frame of mind. It's a metaphor. A terrorist is a metaphor for somebody you don't like and you want to make your enemy and you want to be afraid of. And once they have you in that abject fear, they use the mind control. They say, we'll offer you this security and we'll offer you that security by diminishing your freedoms. It's for the good of all. So we can search more people and dig into their lives and do whatever we think we're going to do to them to control them. It's insidious. And that's why you have all the things on the internet, infiltration into the internet. And okay, 7 billion people on the planet, let's see. How many gigabytes do we need of computer space to like just map them all? And then we'll just label the ones we don't like as terrorists. People, the way to freedom right now, or the way to expose these people, is to expose this very fact. Tell them how it started with 9/11, show them this video. What if I was a CIA agent at one time and I was like warning people that this is what they do inside, this is how they plan things out, this is how they, would that give me more credence if I said that? If I said I was on the inside at one time and now I'm like a whistleblower? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? All of a sudden you'd like be sitting up and taking notice. So act as if that's what I am right now, telling you that, because I know, okay, I might have inside sources. I might just be thinking with a clear head. How's that? Or I might be so used to seeing different things. See, I've studied all this stuff. Okay, NLP, hypnosis. Why? Because the Sun Tzu's Art of War says know your enemy. Know your enemy. And if you don't know your enemy, then, and you don't know yourself, the key is knowing yourself and knowing your enemy, and you will win 1,000 battles. 1,000 battles. That's what Sun Tzu's Art of War says. Know yourself and know your enemy. If you know your enemy and you know what they're doing and you know yourself, see, this is the final ball buster on this is fear. It's fear, people. This is all a fear tactic. That's another Sun Tzu's Art of War thing. Strike fear into the heart of the, make them scared. I think they're even using that in Ukraine in a different way. The rebels are going strike, nightmare them, these guys that are coming in here thinking they're going to take our land. We'll just put them in a nightmare. I think that's hilarious. That's great. Now, do we want it to get to that point where we're like, the people in the USA have all of a sudden become freedom fighters are trying to fight back for their liberty and freedom, and they're labeled terrorists just by speaking about it. I mean, you heard stories of this. Yeah, down in Nicaragua. I've been down in Nicaragua, you know, down in that area. I've been down, I used to fly down there a lot, okay? In Mexico and all that. I've seen what it's like not to have terror struck into your heart, with guys standing on the side of the road with automatic weapons near a van in plain clothes, and stopped, okay? Then you start thinking, I don't have a gun and they do, and I'm not in my own country. Now imagine that in your country. Imagine that's happening right the hell now. Imagine that, just for a minute, that this is not your country anymore. You're in a foreign country. You're in a foreign country, and there's guys that could be standing there with AK-47s or the latest M16 or whatever, the latest issue in the military. What do you do then? All of a sudden it's like, just flash that you're in a foreign country all of a sudden down in Mexico, just like that's going to happen here. It's happening already. And if you speak subversively, if you speak against, let's say if you just don't like authority, you're a free spirit. You're not a terrorist or anything. You're just kind of like one of these easygoing guys or gals that just like you're a free spirit. You don't want people telling you what to do. You want your own space. You want, oh, and didn't the founding fathers say something about, you know, your space shouldn't be violated in the Fourth Amendment? That went out the window, didn't it? That's just been blasted to smithereens. There's no Fourth Amendment anymore, people. I got news for you. Build a little campfire. Funny we're called Campfire Council. Build a little campfire, put some logs on it, put a little tin coffee pot on there with coffee beans crushed up, and smell the friggin' coffee. That means wake up. It's like, snap out of that trance you're in. That's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about. You need to pass this video around because I'm speaking from the heart like I always do, and I'm speaking truth. It's just a matter of semantics. People, they use one little word and the meaning of it. Think about that for a minute. Think about the brilliant strategists that thought this up. And this is brilliant. Whether it's good or evil, it's still brilliant. Let's control the people with one word. Let's control the people, now get this, with one word. An anchor word that anchors in, and we'll make an anchor. 9/11, and we'll compare it to Pearl Harbor and how we're being attacked, and we got to fear for our lives, and let's run for the hills. Fear, people. One word that controls, that and one anchor, one word, terrorism, and one anchor, 9/11, that changes the course of history. The course of history, and brought about maybe World War III. Because this think tank came up with this word, these brilliant, evil, black-hearted strategists came up with this one word and one concept that, hey, that covers it all. We got it covered now. And they just keep ramping up false flags. Right now they're doing that, saying, oh, another terrorist attack, and we're going to have them over here, and Obama's been threatened, and they might even take out Obama just for effect. I mean, you know, the globalists, we don't need him anymore. Let's just have somebody come in, and that's how they think. That's how these people think. They'd take out their own puppets. They'd take out Cameron or whoever. They'd take out anybody they want to take out if they're not going along with the agenda. Outlaws, murderers, killers, you think they have a code of justice? That's what these people are. I want you to think about this video, and I want you to think about the Campfire Council. If you're kindred, and you want to band together with some people that have a sacred indigenous view and a realistic view and a truthful view, check us out. The links are below. Campfire Council. We're on Google. Yeah, we use the enemy. We do. We'll use their tools. Might as well. It's not really their tools, is it? Isn't the internet supposed to be free? Now you believe that, and I got some swampland down in Florida. Okay. That I'll sell you real cheap. Think about the things I said. I said enough in a certain way so that if it doesn't trigger your imagination as to what's being done here, and you giving up your freedoms, and maybe your guns, and maybe they'll even, I hear they're even going to put your DNA in your ID now. Your DNA, people. Think about that one. Okay, this is Wakia, Thunder Hands, Wakia Nape, saying, blessings to all you, and walk the red road, and be careful, and stay awake, stay aware. Be coherent and lucid. Adios.